Cool. Well, one of the reasons we wanted to sit down with you guys is just because, we never get to hear from producers, and given the current state of the business, one of the questions we wanted to throw out to you is, how do you think it's changing what you do, and how do you think is it making you move beyond feature films, or bringing other mediums to bear? Just any one of you jump in.
And how your job description has changed, and how the subjects and what way you present them has changed.
I guess for me, from my perspective, the thing that I'm just having so much fun thinking about with Bass Ackwards really has to do with the distribution of it. And there is this classic division, as we know, of art and commerce. And the way, if you think about it the right way, as I'm saying with Bass Ackwards, you can really make art out of the commerce part of it. That the distribution itself, which is sort of, this traditionally seen as this black box that producers, hand their films over and forget about it forever, and somebody pays them some huge advance that reimburses them for the entire cost of the film and then some, which now seems insane. Instead of that, thinking about the distribution as a sort of organic extension of the making of the film itself, which is just actually fun. It shouldn't be seen as, or it doesn't have to be seen as this labor, like, oh God, I thought I was going to sell my film. Now I have to. No, it's.
And this is a film you made for under $100,000.
Yep, exactly.
And what is it that you're doing?
Well, in partnership with Marion Coulthard-Levine and her Shingles, Zipline Entertainment, and a company called New Video, we are releasing the film concurrent with the Sundance Film Festival. So that means that it is, at this moment, it's available on iTunes in both standard def and HD, Amazon VOD, YouTube VOD, and you can actually pre-order the DVD via Amazon CreateSpace, which will ship on February 1st, the day after.
And how have the numbers been? Has the festival really added some pumped up its presence on Amazon, etc.?
Well, what little I know, I don't have much data. It just happened.
Right.
So it's I'm still
I'd be
trying
really
to
curious
go to the
to know.
screenings and all the stuff. I learned from the head of digital, Eric Opeka at New Video, that they will have the beginnings of our numbers at the beginning of next week. So just some kind of preliminary notion of how it's doing.
But you're a creative guy. You're a creative producer. Mm-hmm. You make movies, mm-hmm. and now you're having to kind of
distribute.
Find the real.
I agree. I think we're becoming more and more distributors, frankly.
Yeah.
Which,
or at least thinking about it,
is not my favourite part of the game at all. My favourite part is actually making the film,
mm-hmm.
all the content, the material. But I find in Australia that we, my company is very small. There's 3 of us, but we now have, and we've had it in existence for about 2 years, a distribution standalone company, and that just gives us a mechanism to actually make the decisions, which means it eats into your life more and more and more, and it becomes, a longer stress when you're not actually going to production on other things because of your time. So I find
forever,
it really a real juggle.
But you can produce the distribution. You don't have to do it all.
No, that's right, and absolutely,
yourself.
and that's what we try and do, so that you are free to keep rolling in with other material and other types of content. We're doing more television.
And you could take Tom's films out, and he can take yours films out.
That's right. Well, the thing is, it's not. What I'm doing is absolutely not DIY in a literal sense. Yeah. I am not going out and getting in a van and selling my DVD on the street. It's a very inefficient means of doing it.
No, there's systems in place that you're using.
Taking advantage.
Right.
And that could be, another one, all the way from one other filmmaker to Fox Searchlight or whatever. It's just that you're plugging into a network that is larger than yourself. Because actual, literal DIY, I don't think makes a hell of a lot of sense. From that perspective.
People always ask about numbers, but I always have a different barometer I try to look at. I started doing this because it's really fun to make movies. Let's be real. Yeah. Producing is a pretty bad job, but it's a great life. Yeah. I love making movies.
Absolutely.
Are you having fun? doing this? That's the question. Are you having fun with all your inventing with Bass Backwards?
Well, the fun of it is that I actually, I feel like, the statistics would have been against me if I'd approached this in a conventional way. If I approached it in a market with a film like this, without stars, without, great performances, great little movie in my opinion, obviously, I wouldn't have made it otherwise, but, the traditional market prospects are pretty dim, so coming at it from, in this way, I actually don't know what the outcome is going to be. And if I'd approached it a different way, within a range,
Right.
sort of would have. So,
Right.
so at least I have, the excitement of thinking, well, it might be cool. It might turn out well. So that is fun. And also because, as you say, Ted, the budget is so low, I don't have some kind of overbearing responsibility to investors where it's like, Jesus, I've got to play this by the numbers, otherwise, I'm going to do wrong by them. No, it's kind of like, well, if it's definitely going to fail doing some other way, might as well.
You can chase
something different.
fireflies, maybe it's lightning.
Who
Goes some
knows?
people.
Who knows?
Well, so Jonathan, I'm going to direct a question at you since we haven't heard from you yet, which is, I'm really, everybody's talking about content, and I'm wondering if content has changed given the sort of the shifting nature of the film business now, and if you're actually changing the kind of movies
Absolutely.
that you're making, and how.
Absolutely. Well, a couple ways. I mean, for us, Andrea Sperling works with me now as well, and we did 4 movies this year in 2009, in a time when a lot of people are complaining, including us, about how tough it is to make a living. We are doing more studio movies, and we sort of put together this movie, Peter Weir's movie, this year, which is a $40 million movie and not really the subject of our discussion, and then a movie that was made for probably a quarter of what Thomas's little movie was made for, which is the one in the festival here
Douchebag.
now, Douchebag. I mean, it was made for nothing, really. It was made with 7 people.
I tweeted it as my second favorite title.
I saw that. I was very...
What was your first favorite?
Imperialist is
Imperialist.
still alive. It's my wife's movie.
Oh, okay.
So, has it changed? It's changed dramatically, the content, because this is a movie I co-wrote as well, Douchebag. It was
Right.
a group of us sort of fancying ourselves as creative, bright, fun people who make movies, who know what we want to make. So we did this, and we did it for no money, and none of us took any money, and we all set up lights where we had to. Hope the unions aren't listening. But we did this as, almost as a camcorder type movie, but tried to make a great film.
So it's an active choice to try to have different budget tiers that you're working on, so you can experiment with the micro budgets on one hand, earn good fees on the studio projects on the other, and have the in-between range to...
I would like to sit here and tell you I held Peter's hand the whole movie.
He knows how to make movies.
He knows how to make movies. I got the script ready. I helped rewrite the script. I got Peter Weir. After that, there's really not much to do. I can go, just like with Michael Haneke. Very demanding gentleman. Got to have this, got to have this. So I'm walking with Peter Weir. He can make his movie. He doesn't need me to hire his crew. He doesn't. So
Right.
the reason, fundamentally, what it goes back to is what you said. Producing movies is fun. It's amazing. We're all very lucky, but it's hard to make a living, and it's getting harder. So you have to diversify your content.
Yeah.
You cannot just do these.
Well, how about, besides diversifying your content, what about,
And your budget range.
but what about also diversifying to other media like television?
We are working in television.
or-
We're working in new media as well, and internet stuff. We've been talking about announcing a deal that hopefully we'll announce in the next 10 days, which is with one of the bigger new media giants. And yeah, absolutely. We're trying to do a lot of
And
things.
so, different platforms, different media, different budget. What about the way you tackle a film project? Have you explored transmedia options? Trying to figure out how a single narrative might be told across multiple platforms in a evolving way. Is
I haven't, to be honest.
that something that
Well, I
is
could-
on your radar to
I can
want
tell
to
you
do?
when you start doing a real small movie, and we both just did a real small movie, budget-wise, you have backup plans. And particularly if you're making a comedy, you think, okay, if this doesn't work, what can I do?
Right.
Can I make this into a web series? Can I make this into a pilot? Can I,
I think that we actually had a film last year that bombed domestically in Australia, and I think you always learn good things out of pure failure. But it was a film that was made very, very low. It was very low budget in Australian terms, and there was, our thoughts on that feature film is that it actually should have been made in an entirely different way to be delivered, not dependent on a theatrical box office launch and all of that. And thinking back, it's like that. It was a comedy. Everything about it could have played much more effectively through other delivery platforms.
And is there something where you can look at and say, like, this is what showed me that it should have been across these other platforms that you would apply to your...
It's so hard in Australia. The domestic theatrical box office in Australia is just...
And particularly tough for Australian films, I'm told.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Right.
So for us, we need to get theatrical to sort of launch a film, but we're incredibly reliant on overseas sales. That's a really big part of the financing of the film.
So you find that's disappearing a little bit?
Well,
as well?
what's really good is that I'm thrilled is that Animal Kingdom's selling here. We're selling, and I'm surprised actually. I thought it would have been.
I'm not surprised to hear it's very good.
Well, no, it's great, but I've had films that have been critically acclaimed and no one sees them.
I swear, like, part of independent producing is just lowering your expectations every time. Preparing the fact that, like, I love my movie, my director loves my movie.
My mum loves the movie.
I want other people to see it, but I'm prepared to kind of face it.
Have that be it.
We Sundance brought back Poison and showed it here a couple nights ago. They made a new 35
that's
millimeter
great.
print,
Nice.
and Todd came, and it was its 20th anniversary. Although I think it's actually its 19th anniversary, but who's counting?
No, because I just realized Trust 20 years ago was my first film here, which was the year
So
that
it really is-
Poison,
it's
and it's 20 years.
Anyway, it
She
was.
won the grand prize.
It was.
to be
We
honest.
did.
We
yes.
only got the script prize.
But it was interesting because one of the things I was thinking about audience and could we make Poison now?
No.
Because Poison was actually a very successful film for its time, and part of the reason it was that there was the notion of making a movie that you just marketed to a gay and lesbian audience. It was like there was nothing else. So
And an art, it was such an art object. Too.
it was, but honestly,
I felt I had to see it to be in the dialogue.
But I think that for a potential distributor, the idea that a gay and lesbian audience would go see it kind of no matter what, and a lot of them went to see it.
Yeah.
A lot of people who would never have gone to see such an experimental film.
But it's interesting. You think about we talk about like how do you make your film an event? How do you
Well,
make
I would
that
say
happen?
I definitely have feelings on this subject because I think more and more our business is changing to where if you can't tell me how to market a film and how you're going to market it before when you're handing me the
Right.
script,
Right.
I will not. I mean, we do some financing of
So
movies
when
too.
you say you, do you mean the director, the
I
screenwriter?
mean, yeah.
the
I'm
producer?
sort of talking about, yeah.
No, I'm just
I'm
curious.
talking about. Well, you're at the picture. Generally, the screenwriter people come to you, and people would come and say, "I want to make my first movie. It's $4.5 million."
Right.
Now let's talk about $100,000. Let's talk about numbers that are more realistic that you could potentially get back if you don't have theatrical, because quite frankly, it's pretty unrealistic for a lot of these independent movies to
Right.
get theatrical. But I think you have to know how you're going to market it.
Well,
and be able
But
to talk
I
about
see
it.
some of that as being a producer too. Like the directors and the writers sometimes have trouble doing that, and it's
And
like
then you have to
yeah,
come in.
I have to-
Absolutely.
thank you. That's exactly what I wanted,
Don't kill
Christine.
me.
I mean, for me, it seems like it's an issue of accurate film valuation, right? If we can take a project, any project, and in some way meaningfully project what its actual value in the marketplace will be, and this is, by the way, impossible to do at this moment, for example, because
for a long time it was cast. It was purely
Yeah.
like get one from this column,
Sure.
one from that column.
And then there's the foreign sales thing, which is shifting
Right.
now, and now we have all of a sudden all these digital windows, and who knows what the hell the values of those are. One premiered that was perhaps possibly the most significant one, YouTube VOD, just 3 days ago. What's the value of that? What's the potential value of that? When you
What was that? The Spike Jones short, or what are you talking about?
no, it was with my film among a few others
Okay.
that premiered that whole platform.
I see.
And so it's going forward though, we can to the extent that we're willing to share that data amongst it. each, collectively as producers, we can know
necessary.
it's necessary, it's obligatory in order to survive. We can know within a range what those windows are worth, and then to the extent that then we can understand exactly who our audiences are, what their behaviors are in relation to those platforms, we can start to say, okay, with a script on the table, this is within some kind of range.
Right.
And then you take the lowest range, subtract whatever you want your profit margin to be, see if the budget that you have, the remainder there is going to.
But we also sell dreams. I mean, like
We sell
that
dreams.
Right. And so- but
that
that's
for
exactly
years, like say, I had the good fortune of being involved with Brothers McMullen, which was a very low budget film, under $200,000, and generated tens of millions of dollars back.
Oh, wow.
But it also gave birth to tons of films because you could point to those figures, and
Right.
and we're having that problem now of how to do
Right.
that. I'm incredibly excited, and I wonder if you guys have embraced this. Like when I think about, like two steps of kind of looking at, like particularly the history of these 20 years of Sundance. First, it was the demystification of production and development, in some ways sales too. Like learning how that is all done. When we started, when Christina, like you couldn't even get your hands on a budget for crying out loud, let alone figuring out like who the buyers were in certain. Luckily, there weren't many. So on your first festival, you met them all. Which was kind of like the game change.
What was the first movie that you sold actually here at Sundance?
It was probably Walking and Talking. No, Brothers McMullen sold before that.
For me, it was Go Fish
Which was but also Go Fish was also the first time that a film sold in the
at the festival.
Wow.
in the first
That's
half.
right.
Right.
Well, we're
too,
back.
so
We're
it's
back to
strange.
those days now. I mean,
Right.
we're 4 days into the festival now, and one film has sold. That is unbelievable.
And a genre star.
a genre star made
Sexiest
for
man in America.
made for millions of dollars. Married to Scarlett Johansson.
But here's a question.
Buried,
Buried.
the Ryan Reynolds movie.
But here's a question. So for me, like the thing that kind of lifted us up was that kind of recognition that as producers, that it was a vocation. It was your love. The business wasn't very good. There was good business in international sales, and you could structure your back then.
film
You
that
could
way.
structure your
Right.
film so you
Right.
could get 100%.
gone, baby.
So
Right.
that's gone. So to me, like when I look at what's the game changer, where are we now? I kind of feel it's like we are at the moment of the start of this artist entrepreneur is like it's clunky. I wish there was a better phrase for it, but kind of the fact that we have direct relationships now with our fans, and we can start to
Well,
sell.
you certainly do. Through your blogs and your tweets.
And it's only been a year, and believe me, I
How
went
many
into
followers do you have?
Did you set out to do that? Like to go, okay,
this year, after- yes.
I'm going to actively
jump in without knowing it and
Meet my audience.
take all the
You know,
risks.
Can I
Yeah.
just say that exactly what you're doing is the perfect. I just think getting your audience where you can market directly to them, having a list of names. It's what Prince is doing in music.
Sure.
I'll give you my album if you give me your email address. I think that's brilliant. That's what it's going to have to be in the future.
You guys are labels. You are curators. And the things that we sell, we've been thinking about, like we just sell films, but we sell deep relationships and conversations, quality of life.